Hello y'all, and welcome to YoungFolk Knits. Today I actually have a few finished objects to share with you, as well as some sewing and some knitting progress that I have been slowly working on. So stick around for a little chat on today's podcast. Hello y'all, and welcome back to YoungFolk Knits. If you're new here, my name is Casey, and this is a channel where I like to share all about my love of fiber arts, mainly knitting, but I also do share about my sewing journey as well as spinning and whatever other crafts we might dabble in. And I also share a bit sometimes about living on a small farm here in Arkansas, where my husband, myself, and our children are beekeepers. We love gardens and chickens and animals and spending time outdoors here in the foothills of the Ozarks. So if any of that sounds like it might be your cup of tea, make sure and hit that subscribe button so you won't miss out on any future content. Today I have a podcast style episode for you. I've got a lot to catch you up on. I finished some projects. Feels lately like that's hard for me to come by, a finished object. Anyway, I want to chat a little bit about what I finished. I want to show you what I'm working on, and I also have some sewing. So let's jump right in. Oh snap, I forgot to tell y'all what I'm wearing. So this is a linen dress that I made last year. It is some linen from Merchant Mills, and I cannot remember the name of it, I'm sorry. They don't carry it anymore that I'm aware of. But it reminded me a lot of a circus tent. So I had 3 meters of it, and what I decided to do is take the Augustina boxy top, which is a free shirt pattern from thefabricstore.com, and I cropped it by quite a bit so that it hit me sort of right at my natural waist. I'll put some pictures on the screen so you can see what I'm talking about as I'm talking about it. And then I just self-drafted a couple of rectangles for a gathered skirt and sewed it onto the bodice of the Augustina boxy top. And it's such a comfortable dress. It is super fun. I love it. I did horizontal straps for the bodice and vertical straps for the skirt, and I think that gives it a really fun look. I also did vertical straps on the sleeves, so there's a little bit of contrast and gives it some nice edging. The only thing is that it's just really too big. I don't mind a voluminous skirt, but I like a bodice to be not, skin tight, but I like it to be closer fitting without just a ton of positive ease when I have a voluminous skirt, because it tends to balance each other out a little bit more and I don't totally lose my shape underneath it. This one is too big for me now, so I think what I'm going to do is just go back in and from the sleeve here, just cut in and down, and then just sew the sides up. That literally be all that I do, and I'm going to do that on both sides. And I think that should really help the fit for me. I think I would really like the way that looks. Moving on to my first finished object. As I'm recording this episode, it is almost the end of the Pohjola cowl, which I have been co-hosting with Sari Nordland, who is the designer of the Pohjola pullover. This pullover you'll have heard me talk about for the last 2 months. And one thing I'm very proud of is that I have been using my maker's notebook This is not sponsored at all. I talk about this a lot, but this was the maker, Sophia from Making Treasure. She gifted this to me as a friend, but it's literally like my favorite making notebook ever. Anyway, I had made it a goal for this year to really do a better job at taking notes, and I'm not always good at getting on Ravelry, even though it should be easy. I'm just not good at doing it in the moment, and then I forget. So I have done an excellent job, if I do say so myself, of writing down as soon as I start a project, I'm writing down when I started it, and then it's easy to go back in and write down the date of when I finished it. But these are the notes for my Pohjola pullover. I don't, take prolific notes on any of my projects. I do keep it pretty succinct, but I do like having the information there. Sari Nordland is the only designer so far, and I have made patterns by many different designers. She's the only designer who I can match gauge with immediately. I never have to change. I use exactly the same needle sizes that she uses, and it's always an immediate match on gauge swatching for her. Most of the time I knit so much looser than everybody else, but we have the exact same tension, and so that makes it a lot easier for me. I do think that the yarn that I used, which is the Sonder 4-ply, and that is a BFL Massam mix, mainly BFL. I think it's 75% BFL, 25% Massam. Lovely base, and it was provided as yarn support for the knit along, but y'all know I love it. I do think that this yarn might have been a little bit thinner than the yarn that she used in her original sample, so I ended up making the size 6. I still got gauge. I did need to block it out a little bit. I made the size 6, and I used a US 6 needle size for the color work yoke. I used a US 2.5 or a 3 millimeter for the ribbing, and then I used a US 4, which is a 3.75 millimeter, I believe. No, 3.5 millimeter. I think it's a 3.5 millimeter. I think 5 is 3.75 millimeter. Anyway, I used a US 4 needle for the body and the sleeves. I used the main color, Full English. The contrast color 1 was Offline, and the contrast color 2 was Personal Space. So, let me show you my finished object. Dun, da, da, da. I love it, y'all. Look at that color work. Isn't it beautiful? Oh, those colors. Oh, it gives me goosebumps. I love it so much. Okay, I have completely woven in my ends, but I always weave in my ends before I wet block it, and then after I wet block it, I'll go back and snip the ends because I know they've kind of settled in place, and I have not gone back and snipped the ends yet. So you can kind of see those dangling, but that's okay because all the hard stuff is done. And I was able to spitz blast the yarn on this, so I did not have a ton of ends to weave in, which is like magic when it's done. I love it. Anyway, this is completely finished. I absolutely love it. It's literally one of my most favorite things I have ever made. The fit is phenomenal. The yarn is special, and the color work, it just feels like a beautiful addition to a wardrobe. I'm so happy. Okay, so a few stats on it. I started this on March 1st, 2024, which was the first day of the knit along. I cast it on my ribbing, and I was trying to finish something. I had to finish a test knit. I think it was the tessellated cardigan maybe that I was trying to finish up, but maybe it was my step-by-step cardigan. I had to finish something, so I had to set it down. I think it must have been my step-by-step cardigan. So I did start this on March 1st, but I really didn't make a lot of progress on it for a while. And I finished it on April 27th, 2024. So it took me almost 2 months. It took me pretty much the whole time of the knit along, but that's okay. I'm very happy that I finished it. As you can see, I did not do the folded collar. I knit it only 3 inches instead of the 4 or whatever you were supposed to do, because I didn't want it to be sewn down. I kind of like the look of that mock neck. And I also can fold it down like this on the inside and it just stays that way. So I can almost get 2 looks in one, and I really like that. I learned a lot about 3-stranded color work and purling while doing 3-stranded color work. That, I feel like I really leveled up my skill and knowledge on this project, because it wasn't that it was the first time I had done those things, but it was the first time I did them more proficiently, and I was very happy about that. I think that it's always important to continue to learn new things and to push yourself a little bit. So to me, that kept it extremely engaging. I was worried it would be a slog, but it was so much fun. And I felt like the sleeve decreases worked out perfectly as well. I was just very happy with everything about it. I've talked so much about this sweater in previous episodes. I'm not going to go on and on too much more about it, but y'all, I love this so much, and y'all are going to see me wear this a lot this fall. It's already in the 80s, so sadly, I probably am not going to get to wear this until this fall, but that's okay. I will wear it in my dreams. Okay, next up I have another finished object, and this one you will have seen if you follow me on Instagram, but this is the first time I've mentioned it on YouTube. Okay, y'all, I designed a little pattern, and it is called the Party Line Scarf. So let me tell you about the name. The reason I decided to name it the Party Line Scarf is because it has these double lines of eyelet rows. So, you know, multiple lines there together. And my husband grew up with a party line phone, and I love, you know, anything retro. And he has so many stories about being a little boy and getting on the phone to call somebody, and his neighbors had teenage daughters, and he said they were always on the phone talking to their friends every time he would pick up the phone, which just, I think, is hysterical. I love his neighbors, by the way. They're my neighbors now, and I absolutely love them. But I thought that would be the perfect name for this scarf, because to me it's very vintage looking, and it has these double lines running together, just like people sharing a phone line. So hence the name Party Line Scarf. So a little bit about it. This is designed in a sport weight yarn. I used Craft Me Not Yarn Co. Silky Sport. So that base is merino and silk, and it is lovely. I mean, the way it takes the dye is gorgeous. It's silky. It's not, I mean, there's not an itch. You couldn't possibly be itched from this. It's amazing. It's silky soft, just like the name. And I use the color Atlas. I absolutely love anything in that red-orange color family. And so I definitely wanted something with a little bit of a pop. So a couple things about this. Is this some new groundbreaking pattern? Absolutely not. And that's okay. The reason I felt like it had enough value to be written into a pattern is because I designed this using a sport weight yarn. This does not have a traditional 3-stitch I-cord. Instead, I used a very slim I-cord that doesn't give a lot of structure and I mean that in a good way, because I wanted this to be easily drapey and like a silk scarf. A silk scarf doesn't have a ton of structure, and this just has amazing drape everywhere. It has a lot of garter in it, and that blocks out a lot, which gives it even more drape. And the double eyelet rows are offset, so they're not stacked directly on top of each other. Instead, you do a couple of tricks to make them offset. Another difference between this and the Sophie scarf is that the Sophie scarf has you doing slow but continual increases to the center of the scarf, and then you immediately start decreasing down the rest of the scarf. This does not have that. This only has some quick increases to form a point, and then same at the other end to form a point. And so it has a little bit of a different shape. I really wanted to have something I could wear during the summer that I had knit. I love wearing my knits. I find that when it's hot, it's harder for me to find knits to wear. So there's a couple different ways you can wear this. I actually have a light bulb stitch marker on the front that I still haven't taken off, that I had put there when I was knitting it, so I could easily tell what the front and the back was. So one way that you can wear it is to take it like this, where the center is coming at your neck. Wrap it around once. And I like to just bring it off center and do a quick little tie. I think that's very chic. I love it. And another way that you can wear it is to instead start with the center at the back, bring it forward and wear it like a little neckerchief, where you sort of tie it down lower. Sorry if that was scratching the microphone, but you can tie it lower and wear it like a little neckerchief. And also, I think it is very cute to tie it and wear it in your hair. I actually like to tie it underneath and have the top go up, but I can't see what I'm doing. I actually made this one in the Craft Me Not Yarn Co Silky Sport, but Sarah also has a base that is alpaca DK. This is it right here, and it is in the color Queen Bee, her tonal version of Queen Bee. So it has 50% baby alpaca, 25% silk, and 25% linen. It's amazing. It's really special. It has some fuzz on it, a little bit of halo, but I think it's beautiful. I think it makes it so special. Now, I got a little bit behind because of everything that's been happening with our family, but I am caking this up to make my other version in this alpaca DK. So it does call for a sport weight yarn, and if you get her silky sport base, you can make 2 of these out of it. But the pattern should work for fingering to DK. If you're doing it with DK weight yarn, you could knit it on a US 6, but maybe do 1 less repeat in the center if you feel like it's going to be too big. It's very easily adjustable on the length by just doing less of the center repeats. I wanted to let y'all know to make sure and subscribe to my newsletter, because I'm going to be sending out a code on Friday, which is May the 3rd, the day that this is releasing, and it's going to have a major discount in it. So I'm going to put the link in my description where you can sign up for my newsletter, and if you are interested at all in making this pattern, then you will be very glad that you did. This pattern only took me a day to knit. It's very quick, and it's kind of a nice palette cleanser. So I am going to show you some of the different testers, pictures of it next week. I haven't got I'm recording this. I always record a lot earlier than when I actually post the video, so I need to wait until I get all of their pictures, and I will be very excited to show y'all those. Okay, I also finished another object. I just can't show it to you. It was part of a secret test knit that I did, and it is a hat. And I knit it out of this Farmer's Daughter Fibers Pishkin DK, which is a Rambouillet DK base is what it's classified as. I use it as a worsted. To me, I can more easily get gauge in a worsted pattern because I am a very loose knitter and I like the fabric that I get from a less dense, super tight knit. So, like I said, this blooms a lot. I tend to much more easily get a worsted weight gauge with this. This is the Daddy State of Mind color, and I think it looks fantastic on this base. I mean, it looks amazing. It's like a green apple. I love it. I'll share more about that pattern in my next podcast episode. I did only use 70 grams, so 1 skein of Pishkin DK was enough for this project. I will tell y'all that. It's a good thing. Okay, let's talk about some of my whips. First up, I want to show y'all my book club cardi. Isn't she lovely? This is a test knit for Sari Nordland, and it is the Book Club Cardigan. It's a lovely V-neck, very gentle V-neck, cabled cardigan that has some fun pockets in the front. Pockets are optional. I'm a huge fan of pockets though. And a double knit button band, as well as some lovely cabled sleeves. So this is due something like May 15th, something around that date, maybe May 13th, but it's around then. And I have joined front and back, and I've done probably like 4 or 5 rows, about 5 rows since then. That's as far as I've got, y'all. This is an 18 stitch gauge, so she used a sport weight and a mohair, I think. I am using Wool Dreamers Mota, so it is classified as a DK wool, a 3-ply, I think. It looks like it's woolen spun to me, but I feel like last week when I read the ball band, it said worsted spun. So I'm not sure. It definitely looks woolen spun. I need to do some more research on that. But it has a lot of structure. It gives the cables beautiful definition and the texture some lovely definition. This is the first time that I have ever used Mota. It's very soft, but it definitely feels woolly. It does not feel rustic to me. And it doesn't feel too rustic or scratchy. It feels nice and woolly, but soft. It doesn't feel itchy. We'll see once I block it and am wearing it with sleeves and a collar that is actually touching my neck. As I said, this is the first time I'm using it, so I'm gonna have to wait to find out about a few things. But the way you work this is you start off by casting on a few back neck stitches, and then you're just increasing and forming the back, and so it has, you know, a major drop shoulder that you get your short row shaping by just continuing to increase on the back. So because of that, this falls quite a bit down the back, and then when you pick up your stitches, you're kind of working over the shoulder a lot and down. This doesn't sit at the top of the shoulder by any means. So you do that for both front pieces, and then you join them together. And I gotta say, I just feel like the way she combined these cables, it's nothing, you know, crazy, extraordinary new cables or anything like that, but the way she combined them, I just think they look beautiful and classic and lovely together. I think that this is going to be a cardigan that does have quite a bit of structure, but my plan is to block it out to give it a little bit more drape. I do need to complete one sleeve and the entire body by the due date. And so now that I have finished my hat that was due first, I finished my Pohjola that I wanted to have done before the end of the knit along. And I finished getting some things ready for the party line pattern. Now I can devote more time to this. So I currently have three, I was about to say two, I have 3 test knits that are in progress. So I have this one, it is due the soonest, so I am trying to give it some priority. Now for my other test knits, the next one is the Mockingbird Shawl. So this is actually going to be the top here, and this is what I've done so far. I actually put a progress keeper on where I was last time I filmed. So as you can see, let me see, I've got like 5 inches of progress. But I started this while my father-in-law was in the hospital. It's just been one thing after another, and this is due in June. So when I was able to knit again, I kind of gave priority to some of the things that were due immediately. So I have now picked this back up. I'm actually testing this with Anna from Brook Willow, and let me see, Valerie I know is testing it. I'm actually not sure who else is testing it. It uses hand spun and a sport weight wool that is mill spun. So this is called Replay Sport, and it is from Primrose Yarn Co. And then I am also using some hand spun that I spun up from Primrose Yarn Co. And I'm very excited to see my hand spun starting to see some of those color changes. Oh, y'all, I cannot wait to see what it does. I did spin up the yarn for the Traveler hoodie, which I was doing like a sort of mini knit along with Marlene from Marlene Knits and Anna from Brook Willow. We all spun it up at the same time together and wanted to cast on at the same time and knit it. It is part of a larger knit along, which Andrea Mowry is hosting, but we were kind of doing our own little mini knit along inside the big knit along. And my yarn came out so thin that I cannot get gauge. I have tried, and whenever I double it, I'm just afraid I'm gonna lose so much of what I wanted in my combo spin. So I think that what I'm gonna do is, well, I had decided I was probably gonna turn it into a traveler shawl instead, and then I was talking to Anna about it, and I was like, you know, I think this is not going to work for the hoodie unless I double the yarn, and I don't think I'll have enough meterage if I end up holding it double. So maybe I should just use this for a traveler shawl and spin some more yarn for the hoodie. And she was like, oh my gosh, Andrea just talked on her episode this morning about turning the traveler shawl in, you know, modifying it for the fingering weight. So you should do that. And I probably will. That's probably what I'm going to do. Because I don't want, you know, I could definitely modify it. And I did. I ended up ripping it out. I cast on a bigger size in it so that I could get it more to gauge. But it is still, I'm sitting here looking at it. You know, I cast on, I want it to be something that I love because I put a lot of work into this, and I think that it would look super cool in a shawl. So I don't know. What do y'all think? Should I use that combo spin yarn for the traveler shawl, or should I try to make it work in the hoodie? I have enough fiber in a different color that I could do a more tonal version. It wouldn't really be a combo spin for the hoodie. So I'm very tempted to just go that route. But I also feel invested because I even did my sleeve yarn different. I put so much effort into making it for the hoodie, but then I should have done a 3-ply. I should have turned it into a 3-ply and I didn't. So I'm slightly devastated. Sample, y'all, sample. And Also, don't get stressed in the middle of a project so that it changes your gauge. Okay, y'all know I am a huge fan of Black Mountain Yarn Shop. It is super cool. I love everything that they carry, but I most importantly love the ladies who work there. I always like to order, especially my spin cycle, from there because you can, you don't even have to call if you're not a phone person, which I'm not. I love the fact that you can text their shop phone and be like, okay, I want to use spin cycle, but I hate the fact that I never know what I'm going to get with spin cycle. Could you take a picture of this color and send it to me so I can pick which skein I want of it? And they will do it, and it's amazing. And to me, that is the only way to shop for spin cycle. So they helped me pick out some fabulous skeins of these colors. I mean, look at these, y'all. First of all, this is the best skein of Salty Dog I've ever seen in my life, and I love it. It's gold. It's just gold. This is Melancholia, and I think it's a lovely teal, watery, gorgeous color. And then this is Absolute Zero. And I think it was an awesome skein of Absolute Zero. Plus, they send me fun notes like this. I love Black Mountain Yarn Shop. I'll even put their store phone number in the description so that if you ever want to text them, you can definitely do that. Tell them Casey sent you because they know I love them. Me Made May is coming up, y'all, and I'm very excited for that. I have sewn 3 pair of linen pants in the past few weeks, and they're all bob pants. Now, I did get the Florence pants pattern, and I am cutting a pair of those out. I've cut out a couple of Zadie rompers that I'm going to sew up. I've mainly cut out a lot of things, and then I'm going to sew them as I can. I recently finished sewing a pair of bob pants with a Georgia tee, and it's everything I love. It's a monochrome moment. It makes me so happy I can't even tell y'all. I made it out of viscose linen noil from Blackbird Fabrics in the color Almond, and it is very thin. It says that it's opaque, but I have it in the darker colors, and it is opaque in the darker colors. In the almond color, you have to be careful. I am also making a Tate romper that I am sewing along with Jelena. Wow, what is her Instagram name? Test Knitter Extraordinaire should be her Instagram name. Anyway, I'm sewing it with her and Danny, who owns Black Mountain Yarn Shop. She's sewing, she already has one, but she's sewing another one too. Who else is sewing one? I don't know. We're trying to talk everybody into sewing one. I know Alicia Edmiston, who has Edmiston Creations, she already has one, but maybe she's going to do another one. I'm not sure. So I'm just trying to work through a lot of patterns, and sometimes I'll spend a whole day just cutting out the fabric, and then I will spend another day going back and sewing one of those patterns. I can't, I'm old and decrepit, and my back starts hurting, and I can't cut it out and sew it in the same day. That just doesn't usually work for me. So I got this from Black Mountain Yarn Shop, and it's pretty much the same fabric. It is from Merchant and Mills. It's just their summer color in this. I think it's called Sugar Cookies, maybe. But I love it. So I think I'm going to make a fun Tate romper out of that. I actually have a couple of different fabrics that I want to do a Tate romper out of. But I'm going to make some modifications because I think what I need the larger size in the bust, the bodice of it, and I'm also going to make the bodice a little bit longer, and then I'm going to go way down in size on the legs so that it doesn't look too much like a circus tent on me. If I went solely based off my bust measurement, it's just not a good fit. So I need to sort of mix and match a little bit in the sizing, and I think that it will turn out a lot better. So I will definitely keep you updated on that. Hopefully I'll have some more to show you next week. I don't know, I hate sewing. Like, I literally hate sewing. Y'all know this. But every spring, and it always happens for me right before May, and it doesn't have anything to do with Me Made May, but maybe that's why they have made Me Made May in May, because everybody gets the sewing bug this time of year. I'm thinking it must be a possibility. Anyway, this time of year, I always want to sew things, and I have enough willpower to make myself do it, and then I lose it. I lose it quickly, and I'll trickle things out the rest of the year. But I have a little burst of sewing mojo this time of year, and I try to ride it. I try to ride that wave as long as it's there. A little update on what I'm reading, listening to, watching. First of all, I have not got to finish Frozen River, which is the book by Ariel Lawhon that I have still been reading. Ugh, I hear my kids. They think something is hilarious. I told them to be quiet. At least they're laughing and not fighting. It has just been so crazy around here. We've had everything, you know, there's just been a lot of changes. Whenever a close family member passes away, everything changes. And I just have not had much time to listen to an audiobook. It's hard for me to even have AirPods in or earphones on, because I have to constantly be able to be aware of what's happening with my kids. So it's something that is very reserved for specific times, and I have not got to finish listening to that audiobook yet. I am over halfway through, and it is very good, I think. I just would love to get it finished so I can move on to some other books. I mainly get my audiobooks off of Libby, or, you know, digital copy to, or digital copy to visually read, because I like to save money and take advantage of the library that is provided for us. If I do also, though, have an Audible account, and I only get 1 credit a month. So it is kind of nice whenever I'm waiting on something from Libby. Sometimes I choose to go ahead and use that credit on something that I don't want to wait for. And then I can sort of supplement Libby and Audible together. And Audible had a sale where they even had like books for $2.99, and I got one that is all about a beekeeper, and I'm very excited to start that book, but I need to first finish my Frozen River book. So I will let y'all know about this other book when I have finished. And if you've read the Frozen River, don't tell me the ending, but let me know what you thought about it. And also let me know in the comments if you have some more good books to recommend, because I have a list like this long I have a wish list this long on Audible, and I have as many holds as I can possibly have at once on Libby, but I'm always looking for new ones, so I would love to hear about it. I've also been listening to the Tortured Poets Department like the rest of the world, and I gotta tell y'all, I'm a huge fan. My kids love it. Of course, the clean version. But it's really good. I think it's one of those albums that's like a slow burn. The first time I listened through, I liked it, but a lot of her songs hit me that way. They're okay the first time I listen through them, but then the more I listen, they grow and they grow. It's this slow burn for me until I just love them. And I really love the album. I think it's so good. There's so many. To me, she's a great lyricist. I don't care what y'all say. She is a great lyricist. I think she is a poet. She can put words in ways that I can relate to, and they make me feel something, and I like it. So I think her song, The Prophecy, totally reminds me of Stevie Nicks' song, The Landslide. I get major Stevie Nicks vibes when I listen to it. And I did mad research, like I could have worked for the FBI, and found out so many things I did not know about Taylor Swift and her relationships and who each song was about on this album. So I do feel very qualified now to tell you all about it if you're interested. I'm actually really hungry for banana bread right now.
right, y'all. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today. I know this was probably a long one. I'm sorry about that. I had a lot I wanted to talk about today. I did also want to say a big thank you. I received a pattern from my Ravelry wish list this past week, and it brightened my day. It's such a lovely gift, and I really appreciate it. If you're ever interested in supporting the podcast in that way, you can find a link in my description to patterns that I'm very interested in knitting in the future.
I just want to let y'all know how much I appreciate that. It means so much to me. All right, y'all, don't forget that Friday, May 3rd, tomorrow, the party line scarf is going to be released. If you're interested in a discount, sign up for my newsletter. Link in the description. If you enjoy videos like this, make sure and give it a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button. It helps my channel out so much, and I hope y'all know I really appreciate it. I hope you have a great week working on your own makes or whatever it is that is bringing you joy. And until next time, happy knitting, y'all.